All right. What is going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and this is the live stream for the week. We'll talk about niche sites and I'll tell stories. I'll answer your questions. Do let me know if you can hear me. Just yell it out in the chat, type it out in the chat. I can hear myself on these headphones, so that usually is a good sign, but it's always good to double check. Let me know if the volume is okay and all that stuff. Say hello. Let me know where you're from, whether you're watching it live or you're catching the replay later. It's always good to hear where people are from. Just say hello. So I am indeed watching the chat, and I'll keep an eye out for questions. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. I will maybe skip around a little bit. If it's relevant to exactly what I'm talking about, then we'll get right to it. Otherwise, we'll kind of hold them and we'll see how it goes. I actually don't have a specific agenda today, but that means we can answer more questions throughout. John says that he can hear. Great. And I can scooch this down here, the little chat window. And before we get into it, while people are hopping on, a couple things. One, if you want to get notifications, don't rely on YouTube. Sometimes those don't show up at all. I have an email list, and you can sign up for that email list by following the link in the description. It says get YouTube notifications. It signs you up for my email list, and if you're already on the email list, it will tag you. If you do sign up for the email list, I send you all my templates and systems and all that stuff. But even more so, for the notifications, I don't send long emails. I just send you an email about an hour before I go live, so you have a heads up ahead of time. The reason why I did that is many people let me know that they didn't get notifications for the live streams, or they would get the notification like 30 minutes after we started or even later. So they just want it sooner so they could participate. So you could sign up for that. Additionally, a couple sponsors just need to give a shout out. So number one, we have Niche Website Builders. They're an agency. You can get content from them. You can get links from them. They have other services as well. They have a new Haro link building service, and they do live streams with me on Wednesdays usually. We've done two. Is that right? We've done two of them. There's going to be another one tomorrow. I won't be able to make it tomorrow, but I'll be around for the next one. So Niche Website Builders, they're going to be, I'll put a little banner up later, but you could save 10% if you use my coupon code. It's in the description there. Also, big thanks to Odys, and we'll hear more from them. They are having a special where you can get $400 credits from now until the end of the month. So keep an eye out on that. And then finally, Ezoic. I've been working with them for years. They're fantastic. You can get their product Leap. It'll help your site load faster. Green and Core Web Vitals. It's free to use if you monetize using Ezoic. So thanks a lot to Ezoic. All right. John can hear me. We're going to hop over to some questions. I made some little notes, so I have some other random stuff to talk about, which is unrelated to niche sites. It's just shit that I've been doing this week. All right. We have Benny from Nigeria. What's up with message extract from God's servants? That's a mouthful, and honestly, I don't know what that means exactly, but thanks for hopping in. Welcome. Dragons here. David, one of our fine moderators. Thanks, David, for helping out in the chat. John says you have a few questions. Cool. Sounds good. Couch is from Arizona. Very good. And P2E Blockchain Gaming is also watching from Nigeria. All right, let's get into it. I'll tell you the other stuff going on too, but let's hit some questions here. And I think I got a little banner here because technically we have Niche Website Builders, sponsoring these questions. So I'll put it up here. There's a link in the description if you want to check out the services they offer. John says this: do you use the data typed in WordPress search, provided you have search in your site, to build your keywords you target? If so, how do I see the queries to put into search on my site? I need to read that again. I have no idea what that means. Let's try again. I'll read it with different inflection. Do you utilize the data typed into WordPress search? Oh, no, I never do. No, I wouldn't even worry about it unless you get like a shitload of those. But I would say don't worry about it. If you wanted to use it, right? So how could you use it? You can try to figure out the searcher intent based on whatever it is they're searching for. The theory, I see what you're getting at, John, is someone has landed on your site and they're trying to find something on your site, but they're having a hard time finding it. So you could try to figure out what they're looking for and then target a keyword related to that. I mean, you may be able to use it exactly, but you may have to sort of interpret what they wanted. But that said, I would say don't worry about it. Sounds like a waste of time. Sun from Bali. It's 1:30 there. You're catching it live. You're listening to the Doug Show a lot. Thanks. You appreciate the work and the straightforward style. Thanks. Thanks everyone for listening. I have a podcast where we talk about a lot of the same stuff. Affiliate marketing, whatnot, some random things as well. There's a link in the show notes. And I have another one. It's called Mile High Fi. I talk about personal finance. That one's really fun too. And Couch said you just left Niche Website Builders, and it's great information over there. And the thing is, you got Niche Website Builders interviews on the Doug Show. And I mean, they're on YouTube as well, but tons of good information. And they're not just an agency. And I complain about this occasionally, probably more on the Doug Show, is people start an agency before they know, like maybe they're really good at hiring writers, but they don't know how to get a website to earn money. And so they started a website, kind of sucked at it, and then they started an agency, which technically is okay because you don't necessarily have to be able to run or want to run a website to have an effective content agency. However, it seems like it would be really helpful if you did know what you were doing. Mark and Adam know what they're doing, and they actually have been on the show many times. John says, to clarify, if someone searches for green hot sauce on my site or purple dogs, where would I see these queries going into search on WordPress? Don't know. I have no idea. I think you might be able to see this on Google Analytics. So you can go to behavior, site content, and then it'll list out the URLs that people have visited. Some of those URLs will have the search URL. It's like S ? equals, I can't remember what it is, but you can search for that and then you can see what people are searching for. Again, I don't think that's a good use of time. It could be interesting information, but I don't think it really gets you anywhere. Merrick, what's going on? And then Raul says, how many sites do you have? I have a few. I just need to touch a setting over here. Sorry. All right. And Merrick says, have I tried 2022, the new WordPress theme? It may be a custom theme killer. No, I haven't checked it out. I usually don't have an issue with any of the free WordPress themes, to be honest with you. Usually they're pretty clean. They're fairly simple. It's kind of my style. I don't want too many options. But I don't love and I don't use Gutenberg. That's what it's called, Gutenberg. I remember I thought, hey, this could be really cool, but I don't use it, and I suspect Gutenberg is probably like an integral piece of the puzzle there. But I mean, it could be useful. I just don't personally use it myself, or have the desire to learn or even try. Jody, what's going on? Jody, good to see you. So, some more questions here. I see John has one. Michael has one on the way too. I'm going to digress into one of the random stories that I have. So I decided this is, I'll make it technology related, at least to start off. So number one, I got a new laptop. I talked about it a few weeks ago, and I was like, hey, I'm looking at the new M1 laptops. I typically buy things either refurbished or sometimes from eBay. So I was browsing around, and some people, they were like, Doug, just wait until the M2 and the M whatever Pro, the new Mac processors come out, and then the M1s will be a little cheaper. And I didn't really care too much, to be honest with you. It was a good tip, but because Macs hold their value really well, the M1s, I didn't expect them to like drop down too much compared to other, machines. Macs hold their value pretty well. So I had a fairly old 2014 MacBook Pro, 2014 mid-year, 16 gigs of RAM. And it's been serving me really well for the last several years. I have no issues with it. It actually still works fine. I think about a couple years ago, I took it in to just have it cleaned out and to put more, it goes between the processor and the heat sink. It's like the gel that goes in between. I forget what it's called. It's like processor. Someone tell me what it is. So I got it cleaned out, works fine, and I use it when I travel. I have a Mac Mini here as my desktop machine, and I like loaded it up with RAM and all that stuff. And I got it last year, a couple years ago, maybe 2 years ago. So anyway, I was like, I am going to upgrade because my MacBook is probably towards the end of its life, and I know I need to get a new one soon. Anyway, I was browsing around on eBay, kind of stalking and looking at the prices, and I usually do that. And then when I see a good deal, go for it. So I found, oh, Stefan, thank you. Thermal paste. Yes, cigar. Thermal paste. That's right. So I got new thermal paste installed just to make sure everything was good to go. I knew someone would remember. Okay, so basically I saw a MacBook Air M1, $850, 16 gigs of RAM, and it didn't have a charger. That was the thing. So they sort of lowered the price, and they were like, hey, there's no charger. The pictures sucked. A couple were like upside down, and there were only 3 total. And that, I was like, oh, this is great. I'll probably get a good deal for it. They said there's no charger because it's a company machine, and they ordered too many. So they needed to get rid of one of the MacBook Airs, but it didn't come with a charger. And I was like, I can get a new charger. That's pretty easy. So I bought it for $850 instead of, I think kind of the going rate was around 1100, 1150 or so. Sure, there's some outliers, but roughly in that range. So saved quite a bit on a used one, which was, I mean, they said it was brand new. It was still in the box. It basically looked brand new. I thought I had it laying over here, but it looks like it hasn't even been touched or used at all. So felt good about it. Got it. Works great. Very happy with it. So I'll probably sell the old MacBook Pro 2014. And the thing is, I built my whole business on it, and it still runs fine. I mean, I even record, and I've done live streams from it in, the last few weeks even. I use it occasionally. So anyway, I got the new machine and it works great. So thanks everyone. Thermal paste. So I'll probably be selling that old MacBook before too long. All right, let's get to some more questions. John says, do you use Google Analytics to capture the age and demographics of visitors? Is it worth my time? If so, any clue how I go about that, or should I just research on YouTube? So I'm curious, what other people think, number one. I don't use the data. So let me ask you this, John. If you have the demographic information, what are you going to do with it? So it could be useful if you went to companies and then you tell them that they can advertise and here's the demographic information. If you have a reason to look at that information, sure, it could be helpful. If you're not going to do anything with it, there's just a shitload of information out there and you can do all sorts of analysis and it may not really be helpful in any meaningful way. So if you're going to do something with it, sure, knock yourself out. If not, if you don't know what to do with it, don't worry about it. Kind of like the search information. You can get some data, but is it helpful? I don't know. I mean, it depends on what you're going to do with it, but probably not. Michael says, do you think a featured snippet is less effective than having the first full article below it? I don't know. I think generally I'd probably rather have the snippet, just generally, but I haven't done any analysis at all. John says that he likes Gutenberg a lot, loves Gutenberg. Merrick says it's not Gutenberg. There's a new theme editor within 2022. Okay, cool. Yeah, I haven't looked at all, but that's pretty neat. And Stefan says, have I messed with programmatic at all? No, I haven't. I'm not sure what that is, but you can fill me in. Saparwala says, YouTube versus blogging. Both. Why do you have to choose? But I will help you. If you're more comfortable writing, do the blog. If you like video, do YouTube. Message says, what do I make of Google Analytics 4, GA4? Any impact on SEO? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on it. Impact on SEO? I don't have an opinion on that. I don't know. It's I don't know most things, but I'm glad that you're asking the questions. What do you think? What do people in the audience think? It's even more helpful to just like put our brains together, because I couldn't even remember the thermal paste thing. All right, John says, well, that, about the demographics. So that's why I wanted it to approach companies, which goes into my last question in a minute. Cool. Yeah. So you can grab the data, approach companies, and do whatever you want. Couch says, a few years ago, you created a WordPress multi-site website. Do I know anyone that does that now? No, I heard of multi-site websites via WordPress, but I never looked into it. I'm not even really sure what the purpose was. But maybe you could tell us, Couch. I think what we're identifying here is, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. It's amazing because now we have, I think it's clear that we got 29, 30 people. I'm one of them. We only have 7 likes, which is pretty low, because also one of those is for me. So if I answered your question, please hit the thumbs up. And I mean, just think if someone like me, who is seemingly so ill-informed, can have 31 people watching and listening. I have a couple podcasts, 2 people listen to those. I don't think I've answered one question straight yet. I mean, I'm trying. Maybe one, maybe the demographic data. But man, oh man, if I could do this, you can do anything. You can do anything out there. Because I know there's a lot of people who are much smarter than me and, better marketers, better chops. You can spell better. And like, the bar is low. The bar is really low. Okay. I don't even know the words and some of the questions that are coming at me today, but we're going to muscle through this. Sports Story says, your thoughts on the Snippet ban, which may not be a thing. I don't know what that is either. Someone tell me what a snippet ban is. Jody says, if you're good at writing, then write, then turn it into a video. If you're good at video, transcribe the audio into an article. Sure. You could certainly do both. I would suggest don't do both at the same time. Yeah. All right. Sup says, how to start link building. I would say, view it as networking and promoting your site, and then let it come naturally. You could also reach out. I don't love this strategy, but a lot of people talk about it, is, reach out to websites that mention that they allow guest posts. You will often find a very crowded route because that's what everyone's doing, but it is a way to find places that you can guest post. Stefan, you just meant programmatically building pages in bulk for low or no search volume keywords like TripAdvisor does for things to do in such and such city. No, I've never looked at that. Typically, so that is a viable route, obviously. Websites do this. But programmatically building pages in bulk is a form of a shortcut. Not that you're saying this, Stefan, but it's a form of a shortcut. And usually if you're trying to do something like that, where you're scaling in a quick way, you're trying to do things in an easier way, programmatically, instead of actually having people write it, you're going to end up, number one, with kind of crappier results. But the shortcut piece is kind of a race to the bottom. If you can do it programmatically, then other people can too. And maybe they take it one step further. So at the end of the day, like, unless you're doing something kind of unique, someone else is probably going to be able to see what you're doing and do a little bit better job. So I haven't looked at it. I didn't have much interest, but I can see. So the other side of it, Stefan, is if you had skills in, scripting and coding, and you could put together a website that aggregated information together, that could be very useful. If you could pull data together so it makes it easier for people, that's value. So I would look at it as, how can you add value and make it easier for people to solve their problem? Thanks to everyone who hit the thumbs up. Dip Media says, if I was just starting your digital business today, what would be your first action? I would probably, I think, so I'll give you 2 options. So I would probably do a YouTube channel or a podcast. I think the YouTube channel may have the potential for faster organic growth because of the video discovery component. The podcast would probably have a stronger audience relationship because of the way podcasts work. In either case, you can interview and feature people in whatever area that you're focusing on and slowly build your network up, which would be probably the most valuable piece. So when you start building your network, then you can get introduced to other people, have better guests on, and get more ideas into your brain. And sometimes those introductions lead to other opportunities, like maybe you partner together on a product, or you figure out that you could form a mastermind group with some of the people that you're meeting. And from there, you see where it goes. You could, of course, go the blogging route, which would be 100% fine. But at this point in time, right now, if I was starting, I enjoy the podcasting and I enjoy the video production more than writing. Although, I gotta be honest, whenever I do start writing, I usually enjoy it pretty well. I I feel like it takes me a little bit longer, but the nice thing with writing is you can go back and edit it in a more deliberate way and do draft after draft. Where, granted, I'm lazy doing these live streams. There's no editing. I just talk and we have content live because we get questions in. So podcast or YouTube, I would lean on, one of those. You potentially could do both of them in parallel if you have the right skill set. So for example, my other show, Mile High Fi, we record video and publish every episode on YouTube as well as on the audio side only. And that works great. All right. Bill says you just like the video. Thanks very much. And Michael says, how many home brews is the perfect writing drunk? Like bowling drunk? Probably 2 to 3. 2 to 3. Depends on the ABV. But I think 2 to 3. Just enough to where you're a little more uninhibited. All right, Sub says, how can beginner will get SEO job? I think you probably need to learn your chops a little bit, do some studying as much as you can, and, look for entry-level SEO jobs. I think it's probably more effective if you can work somewhere and learn about SEO from people that are doing it versus trying to sell SEO services when you don't know what you're doing. Jody says, if you don't plan to use the same WordPress login profiles across the sites, multi-site login isn't worth it. Unique and fresh installs are best. Okay, that makes sense to me. John Rydell, what's going on from New Zealand? Thank you. And then Aid is on to Sun says, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't even remember what I said. Okay, Snippin ban is actually Snippet ban. Okay, Snippet ban is what people are telling me. Oh, okay. Josh says this. If someone reports enough of your snippets from the SERP, Google can ban the site from getting any more while stripping the existing snippets per their own documentation. Cool. Josh, thank you for the extra information. So what was the question? What do I think of snippet bans? Sounds reasonable. I don't know much about them. I just learned about them. So I don't know. It seems like it makes sense. I've definitely seen some snippets where it was completely wrong. It wasn't what I was looking for. It was wrong for the information there. So that kind of makes sense to me. The other part, Yeah, I can't remember the other part that I was going to say. Okay. So the snippet ban, yeah, I don't know. Oh yeah, I guess the other part is technically if enough people report it, then that means that it is something that can be manipulated, like many of the SEO ranking factors. So that means that someone could set up a service. This would be sucky. Someone could set up a service where you just have a bunch of people that go and search for the specific term, and then they give feedback on the snippet that says the results were inaccurate or whatever. And then they would lose the snippet and everything would go down. So that is, that's the kind of flaw. Now they could set it up so it would need to be, I would, maybe set up filters on the IP or the, you wouldn't want all the IP addresses to be in the same, like a subnet or whatever you call it. So there could be a way to manipulate it. There could be some filters to make it more accurate, but who knows? All right, Gaz is on. What's going on? John Vanderland says, where's the best place to learn how to find KGR keywords? I would say my videos on YouTube. I have quite a few. There's some demos, and I would check those out. Gaz has an Ezoic based question. John says, if you're working with Ezoic, if you have ads on your site, can you put your own banners? If you sell banner ads to a lawyer, or is that prohibited? So I won't answer this specifically because rules can change in the future. So I would say check with Ezoic directly, find the documentation, work with the chat. They'll be able to tell you, but that is the flaw with, answering questions where rules could change in the future. There may be specific areas, and I don't want to answer anything that can get anyone in trouble with any of the terms of service. So check the documentation specifically. All right, Daniel's on. What's going on? And Ninja says, I've seen people talk about Google frowning on affiliate links. Do you think this is or will be the case? Yeah, they don't love affiliate links, and there have been multiple updates, algorithm updates in the last 2 years or so that hit product review sites. So you say, would a shop page on a niche site with all the affiliate links be better? No, probably not. So one thing you have to look at, Ninja, is your goal to, there's a couple pieces. Is your goal to earn money? Is your goal to get high conversion rates? Is your goal to keep Google happy? Is your goal something else? Any of those are fine. I'm not here to judge what people are doing. If you want to stay 100% clear of any kind of Google frowning upon affiliate links, don't use any affiliate links. You can just do informational content. I've done a ton of interviews with people in the last year that only publish informational content, and they don't have to worry about it. They monetize with a company like Ezoic, which doesn't have any minimum page views, so you can work with them right away. And then as far as creating a shop page, I mean, that's not really changing anything. Jody says, how often do you use speech, text to speech for writing the articles? I personally try to do it as often to make it seem more fluid as if I was speaking to a friend or customer. I don't use it very much. To be fair, I don't write that much. However, once you write enough, you can write it in a conversational way. So I kind of do that in my head already. So I don't need to use the text to speech. However, Jody, I recently used it because I was putting together a talk, which I'm going to do soon. So I was putting together a talk where I have to give a speech, and I had the outline done, but I just wanted to talk through it, just a brain dump, and I can talk faster than I can write. So I just talked through it. It was kind of a jumbled mess, and I had to go through and edit quite a few things, but it got the bulk of it down. All right. And I think I'm making it through. Michael says, bingo. Thanks for humoring me. Cool. I don't remember what it was. Ariel is on, which she's one of the featured case studies. I just published that interview over the weekend. So I am going to keep hammering through the questions here. Zach's on as well. All right. So I'm going to digress here just for a second. Got the new laptop, It's working great. And one thing I didn't do that I have in the past typically was I didn't migrate my old laptop to the new laptop. I just started fresh. I installed like 2 or 3 apps that I use. One is Ecamm Live, which I'm using for the live stream today. And then the other one is ScreenFlow, which I use for some video editing, and I occasionally use it. It's a good one to have. And then the rest, I was like, I'm using Google products all around. But I was like, I'm gonna use a brand new machine. I'm not gonna clutter it up with things that I installed like 6 years ago, but I don't use anymore. So I also decided I'm gonna give Safari a try. So I had been using Chrome for many, many years. It's mostly pretty good. I actually have no issues with it. Sure, Google probably like snoops a little too much with our data. And there's a chance that it's a little memory heavy and it's not that efficient. And the idea is, Safari designed for the M1 processor probably runs faster, maybe doesn't use as much memory, maybe any of the extensions are a little bit better because Chrome could have some shitty extensions out there. So I was like, I'm going to use Safari. It's been great so far. No issues. I have no trouble doing the things that I normally do anyway. So I'm gonna keep going. There are some extensions for Chrome which are not available on Safari, but I don't use them that often. So it may not be an issue at all. So I still have Chrome. I'll use it when I need to, but so far I have not needed to go back to Chrome at all. So before I keep going for more questions here, need to give a quick shout out to Odys. And I didn't get a chance to record a video to give my voice a rest. So we're just going to roll through it live here. So Odys has been working with me for, almost a year, and they have premium age domains. Really, it helps you get your site started. Or if you already have a site, you could buy a premium age domain, redirect it to your site, maybe recreate some pages, and then you have all those links pointing to your site. They have a spring bonus going on right now. It's a $400 spring bonus till the end of the month, the 31st, and we'll just kind of browse through. And I like to do this occasionally because they have a very good filtering system here. So right now we're just on English results, and we're sorted from low to high price. And you can see there's some pretty, decent domains here. We have MD in your hand. We have, what is that? Typed array. And then fundamental form, marriage ADA. So a lot of these, under $1,500, you throw your $400 on there and it's a little bit cheaper. So the idea is there's already backlinks pointing to these sites For whatever reason, the webmaster decided not to go forward, and these domains are available. Now, you can't like copy the old content, although some people try to do that, but you can recreate the old URLs so you don't lose that link juice. So, one tough industry is health and anything related to your money or your life. And MD in your hand, I assume that's some sort of a doctor thing related. And it says it's a website offering online medical consultation. So, a little bit tough. You would want to make sure you're qualified, but if you had a specific site where it would fit in, it's worth checking out. And you can see some of the links. So we have, I never know how to say this, Ars Technica, Gizmodo, My San Antonio, Fox News, Newsweek, Jezebel. We have Gizmodo, SF Gate, Science Alert. So we get some pretty amazing links. And it's 7 years old, so started in 2015. You can see it actually still gets some traffic. So it is ranking for something. I suspect that means it's still indexed in Google. And the domain rating is 12. There are 76 referring domains. And yes, it is still indexed in Google. So thanks to Odys, and they do have this spring bonus going on. So certainly take advantage of that. And the other part is if you join using my affiliate link, you can get $100 into your account. I'm not sure if you can stack the deal, so read the fine print on the website there. You may not be able to stack the deals, but I'm not sure how the flow works when you get these bonuses coming at you. Okay, so back to the questions here. Northwest Oregon Fishing says, you got hit by the Snippet ban. My main site lost 50% of its traffic. Damn. So, and that actually goes to the point earlier where I said, I think I'd rather have the snippet. So even if you have a lot of snippets, people will read a little bit and then they'll want to go check out, more information. Now, Northwest Fishing, this sounds terrible. When did this snippet ban come out? Is this like brand new and fresh? You might realize that I don't read a lot of the latest news. I usually just stay in my lane and then people tell me about it later, typically. All right, John says, amazing when Google puts a post up in the ranks, but you thought the post was crap. Yeah, you never know what's going to happen. Same thing on the YouTube side as well. You never know if a video is going to do well. Sometimes people really love it. Some of my most viewed videos are ones that I threw together and I didn't really pay too much attention to. Change says, I'm new to affiliate marketing. Where do I start from, or do I offer training? Someone mentioned doing a TikTok video might help with the traffic for affiliate marketing. I'm cold. I'm going to get a jacket. I'll be right back. I got the other guitar out today. So maybe at the end, I'll play us out. So I would say, number one, you can go to my site, Niche Site Project. There's a link in the description that talks about Amazon affiliate marketing, but it kind of applies generally to content websites that have affiliate links, or even sites that don't have any links to affiliates, and maybe it's just display ads. So content sites to get traffic from Google organically. That's kind of what we focus on. So you can go there. As far as a TikTok video, I would say, unless you're into and interested in TikTok or any other social media, I would not spend any time. Unless you really like TikTok, I would say it's a complete waste of time and you'd be better off doing nothing than spending time creating TikTok videos. But that's just what I think. So, but you did ask. But yeah, I would say don't waste time on TikTok. No good. No good. Sports Story says, is it advisable to add one YouTube video to each blog post? Sure. Yeah, those are fine. Videos are good. Jody says, how do you become a case study? Typically, you are a student of mine, but Jody, what I am now seeing is people are coming out of the woodwork to try to be a case study. And I am in a position now where I have too much content, which is weird. Fingers crossed this will keep up. But basically, I had to publish Ariel's post on the weekend because I need to publish it because these are timely things. So as far as working with me, I'm probably not having any other case studies for the rest of the year. There's just too many people. And I work with students of mine because they have, number one, they have like a foundational base. They have some knowledge of what I'm teaching, but they've paid me money. So Christy, she was a student of mine. Ariel is a student. They've taken a course. I learned a long time ago that giving free advice is it's a waste of my time. So I would spend time, I'd do a video, I'd write a long email back to someone like, hey, do this stuff. I would help them out. And then they would not follow the advice. They placed no value on the advice because they got it for free. So how do you become a case study? You potentially could be a case study if you were a student of mine, but there's not enough time for me to do all this. While I enjoy the work that I'm doing, I prefer not to work. And coaching people one-on-one is it's a non-scalable thing. Now, the case studies are slightly scalable, but I'm already doing 2 right now. Now, there's someone that I've worked with in the past said, hey, maybe we could do a case study together, but it would blow your fucking minds if you knew how many people were trying to pitch themselves for a case study. All right. And Gaz says, I may have missed the question. Can you please ask it again? I saw you say you had a question related to Ezoic, but I don't think you ever asked it. No, I don't see it in here. It could have been filtered out, but I don't see it. So ask it again. Try to take out any kind of weird words in there that may have been filtered out. All right. Ninja says, I recently took over an expired domain with a large Facebook page. It hasn't had a post in a year. How should I approach the owner about taking it over? I would probably just send them an email and say, hey, I got this domain. I see you haven't posted in a year. I want to see if I can revitalize it. So nothing special, just the facts. You can just approach them and say, hey, I'm thinking of doing this. What do you think? Change says, I was searching for expired domains and found a few with lots of backlinks, but 80% are coming from the same Chinese sites. Is it worth buying? No. Northwest Oregon says it started at the end of November and then snowballed. Interesting. And then Josh says, with the Snippet ban, I feel it's been out there, but something recently in the last 6 months changed as people started dropping hard. Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard of it at all, but like I said, I'm not reading like the SEO roundtable news or pay much attention just in general. Sop says, what is the future of SEO? Because it seems that Google is promoting paid ads and many of the queries result in no click organic visitors. So I think we'll probably just see some of the same trends that we're seeing now. As far as your assertion that Google, or your assertion that many of the queries result in no click organic visitors, I want to know where you're getting your data. I call BS on that. I'm not sure that's true. As far as ads, I mean, Google is an ad company over everything else. Kind of like Facebook. They show ads. That's their thing. So I would say it's probably a little more of the same, but I don't know. I don't know what the future of SEO is. I mean, we could see the tweaks. We had, there was a time where there were no featured snippets. There was no people also ask. Now there are. And then people got a bunch of featured snippets, like the Northwest Oregon fishing. And then Google developed this, feedback mechanism. So now there's snippet bans. So things shift, new things are developed, things change. So things will keep shifting. Okay, I'm going to jump back. I see a couple questions, but Gaz says this. My site is UK based. If I get visits from US based traffic, will Ezoic know this and change the ads so I can get ads from the US? I don't know. Ezoic is pretty smart, so I suspect there is a mechanism in place. I have a hunch they can handle it, but I don't know. So, quick note. While Ezoic sponsors me, I am not an expert. I'm not part of the customer support. I know we've established this, unfortunately, that there's so much more that I don't know than I do know. Maybe the one good thing about it is I just admit it right away when I don't know. We could just move on. That one I don't know the answer to. I have a feeling Ezo can answer you right away. And I think they're pretty smart. It's a software company. They do a lot of cool things. So I have a hunch that they could do that. Sports says, is it worth it to build Web 2.0 assets? I would say probably not. Jody asked this, what's my end goal? Happy, be happy, be fulfilled. Where does Doug want to be? What does Doug want to be in 5 years from now? So one thing, if you just found me from the affiliate marketing area, you might not be aware of the other podcasts. This gives me a wonderful opportunity to talk about Mile High Fi. There's a link in the description. It's about personal finance and financial independence. And I got mixed up in this community, FIRE. It's Financial Independence Retire Early. Now, I actually don't ascribe to the retire early part so much. I got laid off in 2015. So, Jody, if you don't know my story, I got laid off in 2015, but I had some side hustles going on for a couple years at that point in time. So I had figured out like I could earn some money, but it wasn't like replacement income. When I got laid off, I was probably making like $1,000, $1,500 per month, which is nice to earn on the side, but it's not replacement income. So because I knew that I could do it, I decided to keep going with it. It turned out well. And I did get mixed up with this financial independence community because I was like, how do I invest this money that I'm accumulating? We've been debt free for many, many years, well over a decade, I think. And we didn't know how to invest. So we fired our financial advisors. They were kind of doing a shitty job. Like my own investments that I was managing, it was doing better than what they were doing. So I was like, what the fuck are you guys doing over there? So I fired mine. My wife fired hers. Mine was an insurance company, which is a red flag anyway, but that's another story for another day. So anyway, Jody, I figured out how to invest money. And then I just put my head down, kept working, and then some years later became financially independent, which generally means there's many definitions that people may adopt, but in the FIRE community, generally it's having like enough assets accumulated that earn interest passively. Typically they're index funds. A lot of people just go broad based index funds where if you're in the US, it's like the total market stock or total stock market index fund. So every single company you own a piece of, and it works out pretty well. And it turns out if you save about 25 times your annual expenses, then you can pretty safely withdraw about 4% per year and you'll never run out of money. Sure, there could be some swings, but generally that works out pretty well. So for example, just to put some concrete numbers in there, if your expenses are $40,000 per year, then you would need to have 25 times that, which is $1 million. It just makes the math easy, by the way. But, if your expenses were 80,000, you would need $2 million. So again, at some point along the way, I saved enough money and you hit financial independence, and I'm still working, right? So I don't ascribe necessarily to the retire early part, because being productive and being challenged and learning things is good. As humans, we enjoy being challenged. Sure, you may think you just want to sit around and just party all the time, which that's super fun. But back to, tying all the points together, I don't want to coach like an unlimited number of people. I typically work 15 to 20 hours per week. I take somewhere between 2 and 3 months off per year, and it's pretty fun. So where do I want to be in 5 years? What do I want to be? I'll probably be podcasting. There'll probably be a piece of YouTube or whatever is around in 5 years. Probably YouTube. Could be something else by then. Podcasting, that's a totally independent platform. Otherwise, I'm not sure. So, and if you ask me, am I retired? I would say no, I do work. Where do I want to be in 5 years? Probably doing roughly the same thing, maybe with a little more time off. As time has gone on, I realize I want to work less and less. So I'm continuing to work less and less. Maybe 10 to 15 hours most weeks would be where you want to be. All right. Stefan says the no-click search data is from Rand Fishkin, the Moz guy. Google refuted that it was the case, but didn't provide any numbers. Got it. Yeah, I don't know. Okay, so 2 observations. Stefan, good point. I don't know. That could actually be true. However, yeah, we don't know where we're getting the data from. So Shiref says, hey, what's going on? Mark, hey, what's going on, Mark? Do I find that magic KGR to be under 0.25? Yeah, I mean, I think generally that works well. If you have a site that's established, the KGR can be more flexible. You can go for higher search volumes, for example. You can maybe go for under 0.5 instead of 0.25. Sharef says, what do I think of blocking ad blockers? I don't have an opinion on that. No opinion on that. So a couple observations for today. Thanks everyone who hit the thumbs up. If you haven't hit the thumbs up, please do. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you dislike the video, hit the thumbs up. If you're watching later, leave a comment, hit the thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed. And if you enjoyed my little rant and discussion on the financial independence piece, check out the podcast. It's kind of funny. So many people have an issue with the retirement portion. I remember Spencer Hawes at Niche Pursuits. He wrote an article about how like the FIRE movement was kind of full of it because people continue to work and people are not actually retired. I don't use the retired phrasing because I'm working, right? So I transitioned from my full-time gig doing consulting into side hustles when I got laid off. And then I grew the business in different areas, from the niche sites to online courses to a podcast and YouTube. And I never stopped working. I've tapered down. However, I'm still working as I mentioned, 15 to 20 hours per week, plenty of vacation time, and it's fine. I don't have to check with a boss. I have full autonomy. I can work on projects or quit projects that I don't want to. And it's fun. I'm working on fun stuff. I'm challenged in a good way, and I'm learning things that I want to learn about. And the issue that some people have is they say, hey, you're not actually retired. Talking to the FIRE community, hey, you're not actually retired. You have a blog, or you started a co-working space. So now you earn money from there and you're not actually retired anymore. Or you stopped working and traveled for a couple years and then you decided, hey, I'm going to have a travel company that takes people on adventures, and you're not retired. And to me, this is just fucking stupid. It's focusing completely on the wrong part. It's like, if you're interested in niche sites and you're interested in working for yourself, there's a strong chance you have similar values to people in the FIRE community. You want to have freedom with your time. You want to have autonomy on what you work on. You want to control what you do in your life. So when people complain about not actually being retired because someone is working a part-time job that they enjoy, because they don't need to earn as much money anymore, they can work 1 day a week pouring beer at a brewery because it's fun and they get to hang out with their friends. And then people complain that they're not actually retired. It's a waste of time. It's silly. It's focusing on the wrong part. And when you peel everything back, it's like you have the same values. It's just you're looking at things a little bit differently. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, Mile High Fi, it's a fun show. All right. Khalid says you joined late. Yep. We'll go for a few more minutes here. I think probably Alex over at WP Eagle. Strong chance he's starting his live stream now. I think. Khalid says, if I add a new website to Amazon, is it going to be reviewed? You should assume that any sites that you put on there will be reviewed. They can be audited at any time. Your question is if they will be reviewed. I don't know if they'll be reviewed, but you should assume that they can be reviewed. So follow the rules. And what about creating a new tracking ID? Yeah, you can do a new tracking ID for a new site. It's a good idea to sort of keep things straight and you have a little visibility into your metrics. Martin, what's going on? You watched you a few years ago, but never really started anything. Are niche sites really profitable, or is it worse compared to a few years ago? It's different. If you look at just the Amazon affiliate model, that is less profitable because they changed the commission rate in April of 2020. The sites are still profitable, and depending on what you do, you could be earning more or less. It's it's a more mature model. So it's very easy to get started. There's themes like Popcorn by Alex and it's Carl and Phil. I think I don't know who all worked on it, but it's more mature. Like the business model is more mature. If you look at starting websites and then selling them, the multiples have gone up continuously. Since I started, the multiples have gone up. So I think it was maybe like 20x monthly profits when I first started. I mean, it could have been even lower. And now, if you have an established site that's been earning for a little while and you have reasonable history to refer back to, I mean, you can get, 40 to 50x your monthly profits. If you have diverse traffic sources, if you have different revenue sources, there's even more value because things are diversified as far as the traffic to the site and then how it's earning money. So depending on what you're looking at, it could be more or less profitable. There's also a lot of companies and agencies out there that can help you write, like niche website builders, for example. So, and I would say, you know, if people haven't gotten started yet, and I'm not saying that these niche sites are the answer to everything, you can do whatever, right? Start something. Podcast, YouTube. You can start like a brick and mortar business. One thing I love is food tours. You can start a food tour business. Highly recommended if you're traveling to a new city. You get to check out the neighborhoods. You get to eat at different restaurants, and it's pretty fun. We try to do that whenever we go visit a city we haven't been to. Or actually, it's a great way to get out and see places that you have been to, cities you have been to before, but check things out. So anyway, start something. Martin here says you never really started anything. And the thing is, if you would have started a few years ago, you'd be so much further than you were. And even where I'm at now, I've been doing this since 2013. If I would have started 2 years sooner, just the compound effect of me learning would have been amazing. And, each year that I learn a little bit more, it's stacked on top, it's compounding on top of the things that I already knew. And I get even more returns because it's built on top of all the previous returns. Roberto says, do I think the strategy to increase the traffic to the blog would be focusing on writing, going all in contents, or should I focus on optimizing the site speed and usability? If those are my choices, I would say you don't have to pick exclusively. So I would make sure the site speed is reasonable. It doesn't have to be perfect. Get it really good. Usability, make sure it's not confusing. It doesn't have to be perfect. Make sure it's not a train wreck. As far as content, yeah, putting a lot of time into the content is very good. I would also recommend that you focus on promotion as well. I'm calling it promotion, not link building, but links are good. Links are good to have. A running tour, that's a good one, Sharif. All right, we'll start wrapping it up here. I need to work out. Although we have 40 people, we're doing better here. And I do have the guitar back here, but I don't know if we're interested in hearing me play out towards the end here. Roberto says you have a blog in Italian, 63 articles, 6 months, applied on Ezoic, disapproved, and I had to remove it. Got to drop in page views. Why? No clue. I don't know. I would say that, yeah, Roberto, I have no idea, man. There's not enough information in your question. It could be a number of things. I don't know how much traffic you were getting before. I would suggest that, you're It has nothing to do with applying for Ezoic. And it could be related to an algorithm update, could be something else, but I am not sure. No clue. Ariel says you wish you started sooner. SEO used to scare you. Oh yeah, Martin says I was big into home brewing. Yeah, I still home brew. I haven't brewed very much. I think probably the last 3 or 4 years, I've only brewed like 2 to 3 times per year. But I often, almost always say, yeah, I'm going to get back into it. And then what happened last fall, I brewed, I think like 3 batches over the course of, say, 5 weeks. Was getting into the routine. When you get into the routine, it's a little bit easier. And then each brew is a little bit faster, not as mentally taxing. All the equipment's out, where I need it to be, and I know where everything's at. And then either I get busy or the weather shifts to something pretty cold. So I haven't been brewing as much, but I've still been drinking just as much, if not more. Jody says 5 push-ups for every leg. Now I'm actually going to hit the gym, so I'm not going to do any push-ups here. And that would be 5. This would be like 165. Am I doing? No, 5. Yeah. Yeah, that's too many. Too many. Sports Story says, sure, play the guitar. All right, cool. Any other questions before we wrap it up here? Yeah, good showing today. Good showing. Good questions. No one asked about AI writers, which is always pleasant. And I waited all the way till the end before I brought it up, so no one will ask. And I forgot to put a chair around here, and I'm gonna flip it over to auto. I got to change some settings on the camera here. All right, I think we're good to go. Changes coming. Any strategy to build backlinks or let it build organically? I would promote the site through networking. So network, try to meet people in your niche. I have several videos on this topic. I would check out some of my previous live streams. Those should be quite helpful. And I suggest maybe you take a look at, something like Niche Website Builders. They have some different services out there as well. If you wait for the links to come organically, it's just so slow. It can be done. I mean, some people don't want to build any links at all, so you can get away with not building any links, basically. But you're asking, so you do see the value. And I would say, watch a couple of the videos. I have a couple blog posts over on Niche Site Project. But generally, if you just try to be part of your niche, part of the community, you'll get links much faster. And it's not as, you're going to get better links than people that send out a lot of emails that say, hey, will you link to my site? I created a new resource. Those are kind of bullshit. It can work, but you have to send out so many emails, which again can be done, but it's just not super helpful. Guy says, what are the main reasons Ezoic would refuse you? So I know when I have asked on other people's behalf, trying to figure out like what the issue was, sometimes it's sort of like, they didn't call it thin content, but it's sort of regurgitated content or non-original. There's different words, but essentially like the content is sort of low quality and at least very derivative on other content. The other reason would be, I don't have the list. So I wish I knew more about that. But like I said, since they are an advertiser and I'm not a representative specifically for Ezoic and I'm not an expert, I don't know as much detail. So I'm sorry for that. And Khalid says, is it a good idea to sell a website that's not monetized but getting a little traffic? Totally up to you and what your goals are. If you want to sell it, you can sell it. If you want to, get that revenue or get that money to invest in some other project, that's cool. You potentially, could earn some good money doing that. Or you could be in a position where you sell a site that then later grows quite a bit. So it just depends on what you want to do, your time frames, and what your goals are. And I fucked myself here. I mentioned AI, and then here Roberto asks, do I advise using Jasper AI for being able to write more and better content, and why? So Roberto, you must be new here. I always talk shit about AI writers. I compare them to article spinners, and I don't think they're very useful. People often debate. I took this thing off of manual focus for a second. Now we'll focus on my face. So the problem with the AI writers is people often try and get like long form content. I hear if you're more surgical about it and you try to get the AI writer to write, 2-4 sentences at a time based on your subheadings, you'll end up with better content than if you try to get it to write the whole thing. The problem with the AI writers is, it's a race to the bottom. So if you tried to use the AI writer, someone else could just do the same thing and then maybe have an editor go through and do a little bit of a better job than you did, and so on. So it could be viable in the short term, but my hunch is just fucking do it the hard way. You'll be better off in the long run. So, and Roberto, like I said, it was my fault. No one asked about AI writers, but I brought it up. I brought it on myself. Okay, so I'll play us out here. I think that's it. And I'll catch y'all next week. Be sure to sign up for the notification thing. There's a link there. I think I'll grab a pic today. Can we hear that? Everybody hear that? Oh, I'm all the way down on the floor here on the beanbag. So this guitar is awesome. It's a 1939 Recording King. It's a 12 fretter. It has a huge fat neck on there. And yeah, it's like 80 some odd years old.